You can do things like polyphonic stuff as well. How about this one? Here's a bit of a classic. See if you recognise this. It's funny, I actually created that sound. I remember when I was trying to get that sort of tone, I just went onto YouTube, Beverly Hills Cop, okay, have a listen. And it was interesting actually because, you know, as a guitar player, obviously I've never learned about synth stuff, so this was a really good way of learning about creating synth sounds, because inside it works exactly like the old synthesizers, you know, oscillators. There's 3 oscillators inside. You can make a saw wave, a sine wave, a square wave 3 times, and you can make the different octaves to create a sound. So this one is 3 of the same and just slightly tuned differently, and that's what gives it that sound of being sort of spread apart. So that, like I say, you can combine it with your regular guitar as well. And make different octaves. There's a control pedal on there as well. So if you want, you can do things like this, where you pitch shift, let's say. It's that kind of very Pathini style sound. Put it down an octave. Also, you can do things with like an expression pedal and filter the sound as well. So that's pretty fun, and you know, it's pretty wild because obviously I'm playing a guitar, so it seems a little bit strange, but actually I've taken it to a few gigs and it's been really fun because the audience obviously didn't understand what was going on. We were just playing in a funk band with trumpet, saxophone and stuff. And then at one point, I just turned that up in the PA and I was like, you know, playing all these kind of like... and then the drummer... you know, and it was a really wild sound, you know, and it just makes you think differently. So it's a pretty awesome bit of kit, and you know, worth checking out. I think we sold the last one yesterday, so but yeah, I think this one belongs to this store, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if any of you want to try it out, do try it out later or in the next few days. Great fun. Same thing. You can plug this into the computer, download patches. So if you're not so confident in creating your own, obviously you can get a whole palette of sounds. Finally, just to mention, we've got a sequencer on board, a step sequencer, which is pretty cool. So you can program different sequences. So this is just one note, but yet it will play a whole arpeggio. Like I'm going to play just a D note, and it will play a D minor arpeggio like this. So you don't even need to really be able to play. I mean, you could just... So it's good for that as well, you know. It's all about a show, right? Anyway, so that's just a little bit about the SY3000, and then finally we have this, which is very cool. It's the 40th anniversary of Boss this year, I've been very lucky to meet the founder of Roland and Boss, who's unfortunately passed away actually earlier this year, but amazing guy, and he started, this is inspiring in itself, all right, for anyone I think to hear. So of course started one of the most successful music companies in the world, and he started it when he was about 40. So if that's not inspiration enough, it's like, oh, I want to change my life. I'm going to start a music company. Maybe not these days, but you know, the very fact that he had the passion behind music and creating instruments is amazing. To do it at 40 is incredible. Right? It gives me still some hope. I've got a few years, just a few. Anyway, so it's 40th anniversary of Boss, which is obviously the pedals, and to celebrate that they've released this very limited edition DS1 pedal. DS1, if you don't know, is the old classic distortion, one of the original ones that Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, they used on their classic albums back in the day. So it's really kind of iconic pedal, and but it's usually bright orange. And now, for only this year, they're producing this. It's more for collectors, or if you just, you know, if you like this color and you want a good distortion, then it's for you as well. And maybe, who knows, in the future it'll be worth €1 million, and you can, you know, buy a new house. But yeah, so these are only out for this year. So, you know, go and check them out. Okay, so yeah, does anyone have any questions about anything at all whatsoever? Come on! Well,
tell us about your tuning.
Yes, we were talking briefly about that, which is why we're a little bit late, sorry. Okay, yeah, I don't tune in standard tuning, and I've done that for the last sort of 8 or 9 years, I think. And basically, it means I tune in straight fourths. So I've got my E here, A, D, G, completely the same, and then C and F. So if I play a standard chord, like say D major, it sounds like this. So I don't do that. Another classic would be this one. So it doesn't work for everything, but it does work for other things. Now, the reason I did it is because it means that everything is exactly the same. So for example, if I play a triad, let's say a D major triad, if I start up here, this shape, okay, when I move it here, it's the same here. Okay, let's do that again, D major. On standard tuning, you need to do that shape and then that shape, right? But why? Because it's exactly the same thing. So the problem with standard tuning is we're learning like 3 times the amount of material than we need. Because if you think about a piano, when you do a C major triad, for example, da da da, in the next octave, it's like, imagine it look like that, and then like that. It's the same sound, so it should be the same, you see, all across the piano. So this now means that the guitar can do the same thing. So check this out then. So what chord is this, anyone? E major. So why shouldn't this be A major and D major? So now, okay, so what's this? And then, okay, then E7, A7, D7. You see, I haven't had to learn anything new. Just 3 chords in that position, and I've learned all chords. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Why have I learned that? Right. And then if we take a scale like this, okay, that standard shape, same here. Here. Okay, an octave. So if you want to go George Benson, so you're just playing octaves always the same. everything is the same. So let's say C and an E, third. Oh, and the obvious one we've not done is the pentatonic. So it doesn't look that much different. If I did it the same, it would be like this. Which I'm not going to do. So let's take the first part of the scale. I'll do the same here. If I play a major 7 up here. I don't have to think too hard. You just, wherever your fingers are, it's always going to be the same sound. So it's, yeah. Does that answer a bit of the why, you know?
You tune that way.
Yeah. It's a bit.
For me, it's a little strange.
I know it's a bit scary and a bit daunting when you hear it because it's like, oh, that's really annoyingly cool, but I don't want to change my tuning. You know, but I played for 15 years in standard tuning, so I'm still in the club. I hope of all of you, but I just decided to be different and to try this, and I've played longer in standard than I have in this tuning still to this day. But I think it's a potential way for the future because if people learn this way from the beginning, I think the potential for sort of newer music, more fusion and stuff, and jazz guitar, it makes it easier for chord changes and stuff. It really makes a lot of sense, theoretically. So, so yeah, that's a little bit about the tuning. Any other things? Yes.
With all the technology evolving day by day, do you think amp modelers and stuff will replace tube amps?
A good question. Yeah. I don't know. I guess eventually, probably. Because think about it. Let's be extreme and say in 100 years, maybe none of us will be quite there. Maybe some of us, but I equate it to things like a television. Okay, if you imagine the old televisions with the valve in the back, who wants one of those now? Oh, the picture is, well, actually it's flicky sometimes, so no. But now we have the flat screen, okay, and then the flat screen's getting higher quality every time to be more analog like the old one, and so now it's so good that we don't even think about the old televisions. So there's a real reason for that, because practicality, the flat screen is great and da 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 da. The other one would be, telephone, and now we can swipe and do things like this, and again that's evolved. So I think naturally, if you think that way, technology with these things, it probably will, I should imagine, because maybe valves would be in the future with regulations of health and safety or something. They might say these glass valves, if someone cuts their arm because it's smashed and they sued the company, actually let's not have valves anymore, And I think that's interesting because not the Katana amps, but there's another range of amps called the Blues Cube amps. I'm not sure if you have them in the store, but yeah, great. And I've learned a little bit about these recently, and basically they work like any guitar amp works on kind of 4 stages. So you've got the input stage, you've got the valves, the output stage, and the speaker, and they all kind of work together to create the sound. And so it's interesting to find out that with the Blues Cube amps, the only stage that's different is actually just that valve part, because the input is actually an analog input. The power amp is like a class AB power amp as well, and obviously it's got a nice speaker in there. So so that's 3 parts of it. The thing with a lot of other competitor amps and stuff is that those stages are digital still, like a digital input and a digital power amp, and that's what's actually created that amazing feel from the Blues Cube, which is why it's so different. So if you think about it, it's only now the brain, if you like, which is different, and in there, that's where they kind of replicate the transistors and all the things that are in the the valve amps and stuff, and it can be completely flexible. So when you plug in the tone capsules, it revoices it to be like a Vox AC30 or a whatever, Fender, DeVille, whatever. So that potential is so much more flexible than just a valve, because a valve only does one thing and you only have one amp. So in the future, probably, you know, that will take over, I should imagine, because it means, yeah, in 100 years they'll say, oh yes, this one from 2 centuries ago, that thing called a Marshall stack, you just put that in, and if you want that sound, you know, and the music may evolve so that there's more stuff on. But yeah, who knows? I mean, I guess probably at some point, you know. But it's getting better all the time. Since I started playing guitar, I remember having one of the original ones, like the GT1, the ME30, and it was wonderful, and I had a great time. But I should imagine this is 10 times more powerful than that ever was, you know, and but just as affordable. It's like the same price, actually less than what I paid 15 years ago, and it's 10 times better. So they've managed to keep the cost really affordable, but and that's the advantage, I guess, with a big company. They can try and keep the cost, you know, sensible. So yeah, but yeah, let's find out in the future, and
That's right.
you know, get in the DeLorean and go and have a look. Yeah, anything else about anything? And I mean, I've got maybe just another tune or two to finish off, but otherwise that's, you know, roughly what we were gonna show you for today. Yeah.
Who inspired you to play?
Well, initially, I suppose my older brother started to play, and I was probably just jealous that he was doing something cool. But actually, I originally wanted to be a drummer, so I picked up the guitar when he started to do it, and I learned "Every Rose Has Its Thorn" by Poison, of course. And I played these 2 chords, and I thought, oh, this is boring because it's just down, 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 down. So I didn't really want to play the guitar at that point. I thought, oh, it's much better because, you know. So I would play along on the settee and like whack the settee and pretend to be the drummer. And my parents just said, look, no, unfortunately you're never going to have a drum kit. It's too loud, we can't afford it. So I said, oh, maybe I'll just play guitar then. So I started to, and then I got a guitar, a very cheap guitar, and it only had 2 strings on it as well. For a week until my dad got me a whole set. I was like, oh, thanks, because I was playing like what was it? Like on just one string. It was it Iron Maiden? And I couldn't play the other note. And I just practiced that for the whole week until I got the whole strings. That was cool. Yeah, I remember, you know, after 2 weeks, you know, I'd learned some more Poison stuff, and trying to do some of the solos from, what was it? And I just learned that bit, and I sort of figured it out, and I remember standing in the mirror like, yeah! And it probably sounded rubbish, but at the time, that's what you do when you're 11 years old, and so I guess, sorry, I haven't even answered your question yet, but that's how I started. And then I was listening to those kind of bands, like the American rock bands, Poison, Bon Jovi, and well, Europe is not American, but it sounds sort of that sound. So I like that kind of music. And then a bit of Metallica at the time, I thought they were really cool. And then I started to listen to, then I started playing saxophone a few years later, so I started listening to some Charlie Parker and getting into jazz. Bit of George Benson, thought he was an amazing jazz guitar player. Yeah, and then developed and listened a little bit to Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then Ingrid Malmsteen as well, and then the fusion guys like Frank Gambale and Alan Holdsworth and Sean Lane and just everything really. Yeah. Yeah, all the cool guys. Scott Henderson.
In life than
Well, you know, it's just trying to take, basically I tried to take the best from all my favourite people, and like Andy Timmons has a great rock feel, and I tried to take that, and then Frank Gambale has his amazing sweeping. I spent many years trying to steal those ideas. Alan Holdsworth, incredible legato feel, obviously, and facility. I think of it like facility on the instrument. It's incredibly fluid and inspiring in that way. And I was lucky enough last year to share a vodka with Alan Holsworth, and that meant a lot. And I was able to just express how I felt about his music, and so I feel very privileged to have met him a few times. And as a fellow British man, you know, I just said to him, I feel so proud of what you've done for the guitar world. You know, it's really incredible. You know, thanks for that. And you know, he's a very shy guy, but I could see he accepted the compliment, and that means a lot. You know, if someone just accepts it, and it's you know, obviously it's very sad that he sort of passed this year. I still haven't really got it in my mind, but I feel very privileged to have had that opportunity to say that. You know, so those guys definitely always inspire me. You know, but you know, looking at the positive, he's given us such a body of work. Even the aliens of the future will be inspired by Alan Holsworth, because he's a really special guy. Yeah. Anything else? Oh yeah, sorry. At the back.
Can you talk a little bit about your note choices on your phrases? I'm thinking
Yeah.
arpeggios, fourths.
Did you say on the sweeping phrases? Yeah. I guess there's a few things I like to do. Like, for example, if you are familiar with Frank and Barley's stuff, like when he did his Monster Licks and Sweep Picking video, you know that one? Whatever that lick at the end, that's as much as I can remember. I remember when he did the pentatonic, that was really interesting to me. And I even remember at 17 thinking to myself, that's really cool, I want to be able to do that over the whole neck. I still haven't really got round to it, but for example, there's an A minor arpeggio, or pentatonic rather. So I use that phrase a lot. I like to you know, break it up so it's not just all one pattern. Move it around a bit. Or like this. And you see, I might use that as a bass and then slip into the scale so that it's like a framework. So if I'm playing like an A minor, I might want to go up that part. And then kind of come down the Dorian scale or something. So it's really mixing it up. And like I said earlier with the practicing, in fact, is that loop still there? 1 second. Not that one! Oh, what a racket. Anyway, I thought it was that one, but it wasn't. Anyway, so what I like to do is, like, when I said about practicing over the scale and listening to the way the note sounds and saying the notes in my head, that stays with you. So for example, when I said about the F sharp, or over that chord, to me, that note should elicit some emotional response in you, which is personal to you, and it makes you feel a certain way. So because I've done that so often, when I'm improvising, I'm trying to go for a certain sound. I can hit that note and know that it has a certain sound. So I might run up to that note, like, or embellish around it, you know. So if I'm thinking of, you know, like, so now I'm in that sort of zone. I'll think of, like, it's a bit boring to say it in front of everyone, but I just instantly thought of B minor over this G, because that's it. And I can do sweeps like. So I guess in essence I'm aiming for the 3rd, the 7th, the 9th. I'm sort of embellishing around each.
Do you think in terms of substitutes
pentatonic substitution?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, and I've started doing that a little bit more recently. Like I said, there, the B minor substitute works nicely because you get that. Yeah, so it's a really nice way of doing it. So those sort of substitutes. Obviously, melodic minor is a good one as well. You know. Yeah, so probably everything that you do, I'm just reaffirming that I do that too. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Did you have practice routine when you were a kid or something? Do you have?
I don't, unfortunately, these days. But when I was younger, it wasn't so much of a full practice routine. But honestly, what I mentioned, I would do many hours of playing the notes and thinking of the scales, thinking of the notes, but I would do it in different keys as well, obviously, not just G major. I would do B flat, and I would force myself to try and do all the keys. And in fact, before loopers were even invented, actually, we had a keyboard with a start-stop button, and I figured out if I pressed that note in G major and pressed that button, it would do something like this. Some 80s. There I go. Yeah, so cool. And I thought I was great at the time, but I was really. And you know, I would practice, and the reason that's important is because there's a metronomic pulse, and on top of the metronome, there's some harmony. So I believe that no one told me to do that. I would find that more enjoyable. So that my practice, I could do that for hours, and I was so happy doing that and learning and feeling like I was progressing all the time. And I'd like to think that that's what's helped me later on in life feel just more comfortable all over the neck, because you know I've done that for many hours in different keys and stuff. I remember when I was doing a gig in Cyprus for like 6 weeks when I was 19 or something, and do you know this song? Yeah, exactly. I was loving playing that song, you know, D minor, and then it went, E flat minor, D minor, you know, and I would do so. And I went home that night and I was like, oh no, I don't know E flat minor very well, so I have to practice it. And then from that moment on, I forced myself really, okay, I must learn E flat minor all over the whole neck. Trust Miles Davis to put that chord in the song. So then, E flat minor. And I know that as well as D minor, and I tried to do every key and like that, which is really cool. Yeah, so not really a routine, but I would just improvise and try to get better and learn songs, you know, and licks, copy Frank Gambale videos, and you know, and play in bands. Obviously, try and play in school band at the time when I was learning, and I was lucky actually. About 15 or 16, I got into like a we say a social club band, you know, like a club band playing 60s and 70s music, and so I wasn't old enough really to go in there, but because I was playing, I just had, you know,